Welcome to the Multifamily Zone, where business meets family. We explore what the entrepreneur life looks like from the family perspective. Now, here are your hosts, Julia and Gino Barbaro.
Welcome, everyone. This is Julia Barbaro, host of the Multifamily Zone podcast. I'm here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband and co-host, Gino Barbaro.
What are we talking about today, Julia?
I feel like this was a forced topic. It's all good. I could find some fun stuff to talk about. We're talking about goal settings.
She doesn't seem excited when she says that. For me, it's an exciting topic because I wouldn't be where I am today without being able and knowing how to set goals. That being said, let's talk about a couple of the things of how to set goals, but I'm going to talk about it from the example of the business world. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to talk about business goals, finance goals. We're actually having a quarterly priority meeting, or Q3 priority meeting, this Thursday. It's going to encompass probably the whole day. We get together at 9 a.m. or we have a team up down here in St. Augustine, our team in Knoxville. We're going to do a Zoom call. And that quarterly priority meeting establishes the quarterly priorities for the next quarter for Q3. Because what happens is if we don't have those quarterly priorities, Jake and I tend to what we call a shotgun and do as many things as possible. And when you try to do too much, nothing gets done. So these quarterly priorities are very, very important for us. It's part of our cadence of accountability. We're held accountable. One more thing, Joel, this is really important. A priority is anything that takes more than 8 hours. So think about these big overarching things that you want to have accomplished. Maybe it's closing a deal. Maybe it is starting a website. Maybe it is fixing your website. Whatever you think is going to take more than 8 hours, that's a priority. Anything less than 8 hours is called a task. So when you have your priority all set up, then you start creating the tasks for that priority. And we typically have between 4 and 5 priorities for every company per quarter.
So I think goals are extremely important. Of course, I guess where I get stuck is sometimes if I get too goal oriented, I get stressed because there's a lot of people working, you have adults working with you and I have children working with me, and it's very different.
Sometimes the children are better.
Emotions play, maybe someone gets sick. So my day is planned to a point, but a lot of things change. And that's why it's a little bit more stressful, because as a mom, if I'm super structured, sometimes it's just super stressful. Do you get it?
I'm trying to think of a rebuttal, everybody. And I think I hear a little bit of what we like to say, an excuse.
No, I do. Every day I have a goal. I have a set. What we want to get accomplished. But like I said, especially with little children, like if you have babies, my gosh, some days we're just, sorry, we're canceling the whole day. And, that's my point. So as a mom, it's different. It's not, I don't have adults working for me. I don't have adults coming to meetings. It's the different life at home.
So goals are a roadmap. That's the way I look at it. And I think the first thing that we have to figure out with goals is we may not hit the goals, and that's okay. Like Julia just said, you may have to just say done. But Julia did say something really crucial that I don't even think she understood that she said it. It went by so quick because she's focused on the kids and not what's the one thing that you're going to do that day. That's really important. Gary Keller wrote that amazing book, The One Thing. A lot of people have read it. Think about that one thing that you're trying to accomplish. And when I look back on my journey, that one thing that I tried to accomplish, I wanted to leave the restaurant. That was my big one arching thing. So what did I need to do to accomplish that one goal? It really comes down to reverse engineering. For me in the beginning, it was all about personal development. It was all about education. It was all about partnering with other people and finding other people. So the first part, that one thing, was just getting massive education. So your goal should be focusing on what's that one thing that's going to move the needle. And that's when we get together with our quarterly priorities. What are those things that are going to move the needle? That's what I think your goals should be focused on. Obviously, what I want you all to do is, this is already 6 months into the year. This year is already almost half over. Have you written down goals in the beginning of the year? Are you looking at your goals every week or every month or every quarter to assess how you're doing? That's really important. And I think when you start setting goals, figure out your top 5, 6, 10 goals that you're trying to accomplish in the year and see how they're going. And the other thing is, goals are going to change. It's okay that they change. We freak out and go, oh, well, I don't want that anymore. Well, all of a sudden you may have outgrown that, Or you may realize, for instance, you're in real estate right now, multifamily. You wanted to hit 100 units by the end of this year, and now prices are crazy. You can't find deals. It's okay to be able to change those goals.
It is important to have goals, and I'm going to be with you in it. But it's really important that we're 100% clear on what they are. My goals are tiny; they're little, and I know you're probably going to think that they're just tasks. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I do break what my goals are into little pieces. As far as, it can be as small as I'm having a dinner party. What I have to do, because I am super prepared for that, because I have to, otherwise I get confused and flustered. Do you know what I'm saying?
Please don't run out of food at the Barbaro household.
A big deal in the Barbaro house.
Wow.
My worst fear, and I'm going to just say it out, is running out of food when we have company. And I know a lot of the moms are laughing now because that's their fear too.
Has it ever happened?
So this is our disagreement. Okay. I always notice if there's less food and more people take less. So are they leaving not as full as they normally would be if we had more food?
We're promoting a healthy lifestyle, so maybe they can eat a little less at the parties.
It's a lot of salads. There's a lot of healthy food. It's mostly all healthy, I'm going to be honest, until dessert comes. But for the most part, it's
until dessert comes.
Yeah, because that's what Grandma Mary makes, But no, so it's important to be super clear on what you are trying to achieve. And I just want to show that importance, because a lot of times we have a goal, but it's so cloudy and we don't have clarity on what our goal is, right? We have this broad, basic goal. We got to seriously be 100% clear on what that is exactly.
So the goal is the ultimate result. That's what you're trying to achieve. Great dinner party. Buy your first deal. What Julia's talking about is the system or the process. How do you do that? You need to fall in love with that, the system and the process, instead of falling in love with having a great dinner party. If you could fall in love with the system and the process, then you'll be okay. Let's fall in love and learn the system. So what are some of the systems or processes you need to do to have a great dinner party?
Well, for me, it's definitely who's coming and what they like to eat.
Okay.
Because to me, I love to feed people. I don't know why, it's this passion I have. I love to see people eat and be happy. So for me, it's like, okay, who is coming? What do they like? What am I going to make? And then I go backwards from there.
Okay. So she elicits the one dish wonder here. I make one dish.
My husband. Okay, we're going to go. I feel like I'm teasing you too much here, but I just want to point this out. Okay. So here he is. Everyone hears him talk about the restaurant. He was an unbelievable chef. He cooked in the restaurant for, 20 plus years. He knew a lot. Okay, he doesn't cook at home. I'll just repeat that. He does not cook at home. But when he does cook, he'll cook one thing. He's all about the one thing.
Dish you'll ever eat, though, right?
It is interesting that, he's like, all right, I'm like, all right, you make dinner. And it goes on the table and it's one item. And then me and the girls will scramble to get a couple other things together. It's like, all right, Dad cooked. Okay, what else are we going to get? So it's definitely a joke in the house. It's fun.
Think and fall in love with that system or the process, because it's very important, because it's replicatable. You can repeat it. What do I mean by that? You're going and buying a deal in multifamily. What are the systems or the processes you need? Well, we call it the race to 80. You need to be able to underwrite at least 80 deals before you find one really good one. So what does that mean? Like Julia said, let's reverse engineer that. If you want to buy a deal in a year, there's 50 weeks in a year, and you need to underwrite 80 deals. On average, you need to underwrite 2 deals a week. At least. So from there, how do you underwrite deals? How do you get deals from brokers? Well, you need to call brokers. You need to start talking to owners off market. You need to start going into the market and selecting it. You need to start networking with other investors, and the list goes on and on. Fall in love with all those systems and processes. Don't fall in love with the goal. Fall in love with what's going on, not the outcome. And that's one thing that I made a mistake on early on when I was setting goals early on. I would say, I want $20,000 a month in passive income. Great. Don't fall in love with that. Fall in love with what you need to do to get there, because then once you get there, there's always another goal. And that's the other mistake that I used to make. Once you hit a goal, enjoy the process. You're climbing up that mountain. Once you get to that mountain, everyone listening on this podcast are all make it happen people. I know everyone listening to it. You hit that mountaintop, you're going to create another mountain to go up. So as you're going up the journey, enjoy the journey. Julia, as you're cooking for that party, enjoy it. Don't be stressed out. Don't go, Gino, clean the shrimp. Gino, go. Just say, enjoy the process, and then you'll love the end result. And it always happens that my wife cooks an amazing meal, and she's a great when we're having parties, it's just we have an amazing time.
One of the things too, when we have these goals in mind and we're trying to figure this out, what we're talking about, is this your goal? It's such an important question, because a lot of us, and I see a lot of young, because my daughter, or some of our kids are even out of college at this point, and a lot of people are living other people's dreams, other people's goals. Here's what my dad really wants me to be doing, and this is what I'm going to strive for. It's like, is this your goal? Is this your dream? And it's a really great question to ask, but because a lot of us don't even ask, we just live out someone else's dream. So it's something I think that today is a good day to think about that.
Wow. Powerful. Little life coaching there, everybody. I want to give a big shout out to Bridget, Jake and Gino's student. She sent me this planner over. Great gift. It's called the Clever Fox Weekly Planner. If you want to start somewhere, it's an awesome tool. It's an awesome resource on how to start setting goals. And when we talk about goals, if you want to have a holistic approach, you want to do family goals, you want to do financial goals, you want to do health and wellness goals, you want to do goals about spirituality, about your religion. That all needs to be incorporated into it. And it sounds overwhelming, but just take tiny steps, right? The first step, Julie probably mentioned it already, but let's really dive into it. Decide what your goal or objective is, right? What are you trying to achieve? Try to focus on something. Like I said, when I was leaving the restaurant, my focus was, I don't want to be here. That's not a goal. I don't want to be here. Well, what's the goal? The goal is to find something else. The goal is to get into multifamily real estate to replace the restaurant income, right? So decide what the goal and objective is. That's the first step.
So the second step, because I thought we already talked about the first
I know,
step.
But we didn't really say the first step, did we? I mean, right?
You're right.
You're worried about thinking about food and going, man, that one dish wonder, he is great at making that one dish, right?
I like the second step. It's write down your goal, because what happens is, here's what happens. We think about these things all the time, and they stay in our mind, and we stay in our head, and it keeps us from doing other things because we're constantly thinking about them. And we get distracted by life, and then we're like, oh, we can't forget, so I got to keep thinking about it. When we write things down, we get them out of our mind, out of our head, and we put them down on paper, and now they're visible. Now we can actually see them in our own handwriting or on the computer or wherever. And now it becomes real, because now you're reading them. You're not just thinking about it. You're literally reading them. And you can even take a break, forget about them, and come back later, come back tomorrow and look at them with fresh eyes, like a fresh day where you're not thinking about them. You're not busy thinking about it, because sometimes it gets overwhelming because, like I said in the beginning, it's kind of cloudy. We're not clear about it. We really should take a break from it, write it down, come back later, take a look at it. And another thing is, someone else can read it, which I think is super helpful depending on the person you ask, because is the person you ask, we talk about this a lot, who we go to for advice is on us to choose, right? So if we're going to someone who is going to knock us down, everything we talk about, probably not the best person. Find someone who is super supportive and ask them what they think.
Do you know why else you need to write down your goals?
Why?
Old schoolers like myself, when we write something down, we know that it elicits our subconscious. So we're writing it down, our subconscious gets triggered. There's also something called the reticular activating system, the RAS. Do you ever notice when you buy a red car, as you're driving down the road, you notice other red cars? So when you're writing down your goals and you're constantly writing them down, that's what you're focusing on. And you start focusing on that. So if you start focusing on dinner party, that's what your focus, that's what your attention goes to. And then all of a sudden you may see a video on how to cook a certain dish. And all of a sudden, wow, let me click on that and watch it. That's going to help me with my dinner party. Or, oh, hey, I'm looking at this video on cap rates. I'm analyzing deals. That's going to help me take down deals because I'm learning about real estate. So it's very important that you write down your goals. A lot of people like to use vision boards. Putting a board of vision. I used to do that because I'd wake up in the morning and that was the first thing that I saw. And I'm saying to myself, okay, I need to work on these goals today. And I write down my weekly tasks all week. I write down my wins. We do daily huddles in the morning with our teams for that reason, because we want to know what everyone's working on, but we want to share our wins and we want to make sure that we're working on what we need to work on. Goals are constantly changing. You may write down 5 goals this week. This goal may be more important than the next one. continually start looking at them and writing them down. And as you're writing them down, you may be writing them down and saying, this doesn't look really great. This doesn't make any sense. Maybe I need to change it. So that's why writing them down also allows you to do it, is to see them and to see if those are the goals that you actually want to start going towards.
Yeah. Going back to that simplicity of a dinner party, sticky notes are my favorite because I will write the whole menu down and stick it on the cabinet. And I know what we're going to have, what the menu is, because, we got to be prepared, right? The third step is set a deadline. Now, this is so important because, again, we have these ideas, we have this goal created in our mind, we write it down, we have these, now it's there in front of us, and we say, okay, tomorrow I'll get to this, and then tomorrow comes. Okay, I'll get to that later. And we always say, well, you know what, today's busy, I'm going to get to it. And we just give ourselves an out. And we wait until tomorrow, we wait until later, and we give ourselves all these excuses, but we have to set a deadline and we have to hold ourselves accountable. But again, at the same time, they have to be realistic because all of us are busy. All of us have a full schedule at times. So to be realistic helps us to actually accomplish it.
By December 31st, 2021, I will have bought my first deal. I will own my first multifamily property. That's how you set a deadline, because all of a sudden, like I said, it activates in your mind, and you do not want to lie to yourself. So what you're going to do is you're going to work as hard as possible to work towards that goal. And there's a deadline. And everyone out there, if it's December 31st and you didn't get the deal, it's okay. You can move the deadline. Right? That's the important thing. You can still move it, but putting a deadline puts pressure on you. And as my friend Joshua Ryan Rusin says, pressure makes diamonds. And a little bit of pressure is good for you because it's going to make you work towards your goal. It's in front of you. I want to do it by December 31st. What do I need to do? Well, all the Jake and Gino students out there, Monday lessons, coming to the boot camps, MM4, October 23rd and 24th. These are all things you need to do to get that deal. And you're going to be doing them because you know you're under a deadline. And it's really ironic how most of us, when we're on a deadline, we wait till the last week or two to get things done. That's why people don't have goals. They don't have accountability. Julia said something that was very important about that accountability piece. It's great when you're on your own and try and do this on your own, but when you have a goal and you're working with somebody or working with the coach or working with the community, that will really help you hold you accountable, and you will not let that person down. I'll give you a perfect example. We're doing this podcast now on the weekend because we need to get it done. We don't want to let the team down. It needs to get done. That accountability piece is important. We put ourselves down, but we're not letting our team members down. That's what accountability does. It holds you accountable to get your tasks done.
It's interesting having the kids in college. Before that they were homeschooled, so it was me as a teacher. But now they have professors, and they need to, the assignments are due. They know ahead of time in the beginning of the year when everything's due. And it's so interesting that the majority of people wait till the last moment.
Vast majority.
And I said to Gabrielle, I'm like, why did you wait until the last weekend to get this paper done? And she's like, I don't know, because it's due tomorrow and I have to do it. And so what if the deadline was much earlier? Would she have done that? I think yes. So what if we decide to make the deadline when we want it? Because sometimes we're waiting for someone else's deadline. And I think that, again, it doesn't hold ourselves responsible. So let's start being responsible, starting a deadline for ourselves and holding ourselves to it.
Do you mind if I share a story about Zig Ziglar?
Sure.
Okay. Years ago, I would always listen to Zig in the car, the CDs. So I'm outdating myself. And he started out one of his seminars by saying, how many of you would like to go on a free, all paid vacation? Everyone's like, yeah. He says, well, you got to do it in 2 days. And he says, could you all get your work done in the next 48 hours? Get all your work, everything planned. And everyone said yes. And it's ironic how when we're inspired or we're motivated to do something, we'll be able to do it. But if your boss tells you I need something in 48 hours, you say, I'm overwhelmed, I have too much to do. So it really depends upon, hey, you need to get your stuff done and hold yourself accountable. And if there's something there, something worth it. That's why the goal needs to be really powerful. The goal needs to have a big enough why are you doing it? If your goal is energizing, inspiring, motivating, you're going to go towards that goal and you're going to blast through that deadline. You're going to be really energized to do that.
No, I love that story. And it is one of those things where our mindset does play a huge role in this, because if we're waking up every day and like, oh, I got to hold myself accountable to this. You know what I mean? If we're really down on ourselves and not excited about it, we're most likely going to fail at it. And so, but if we wake up and it's like, all right, I can't wait to get this done. This is exciting. Who can help me? And have a positive mindset. It does make a difference. It really does. And I want to, like, I can't believe what a difference it makes. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Mindset is unbelievable. So the next one, is it 4? Are we on 4? Okay. So we're going to list all the activities needed to achieve that goal. And this is important because what happens is we see the full goal and we get overwhelmed because it's a lot. And what if we break everything down into small steps, manageable steps, and even put timelines on each of those so that we don't see the full, you know what, again, simplicity of my dinner party. If I see the whole calendar, the whole menu of items, it's like, oh my gosh, where do I start? You got to start somewhere. So you have to list in order how long things take. Well, that will be next, but we want to list the activities or whatever it is involved in this goal.
Mm-hmm. And listing all the activities is something that you really need to plan it out and really think and how long it's going to take. Remember, we use SMART goals, the SMART. That's the acronym, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time. You can use that acronym. But for us, when you list all the activities, it's really chunking it down and making it into manageable bite size, because it takes a lot to buy your first real estate deal, whether you're buying a single family home or you're buying an apartment complex. There are a lot of activities needed to do that. The first thing is the education. You need to educate yourself tremendously. The next thing is probably finding a mentor, somebody who's done it before, getting that help. Then the next thing is listing out all those steps. It's not just buying the deal though. Remember, you need to buy it, finance it, and then ultimately manage it, the 3-step framework. So you need to do all that. All those activities, it may be overwhelming, right? But remember that one thing is that buying the deal. Then from there, you're setting the whole entire deadline. Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll go through 5, 6, and 7.
Hey, Wheelbarrow Profits family, are you struggling with ways of teaching your kids about money and financial literacy? Gino, I think we have something to help them. Tell them about it.
We've been hard at work creating the Jake and Gino Youth Academy. The Academy takes a deep dive into good money habits, setting up a budget, investing, taxes, the difference between an asset and a liability, and so much more. This is a great opportunity to spend time with your children, to be their role model when it comes to money and investing, and learn how to set them on the right path to financial success.
If you want more information on how you can become the next Youth Academy member, visit www.jakeandgino.com/education to begin your journey to financial freedom.
As we like to say at Jake and Gino, people with financial intelligence can change the world for the better.
All right, we are back, and I want to go to 5, which is super important to me, which is organize your goals into plans by priority. See, like I was saying before, we have this, yes, we're doing, my example is a party and a dinner party. And again, you see a whole list of stuff and it's overwhelming. When we list them, all the activities needed, now we're going to prioritize what we're going to start with. And this helps us decide what comes first. What do I have to do first? And in this moment, we can ask who can help. We have a lot of kids. They all have different gifts, especially in the kitchen. And I could decide who helps with what. And this really, really makes a difference because it's not overwhelmed. We're not all in the kitchen freaking out who's doing what. One thing has to go on the stove, one thing goes in the oven. We are organized. And that is so helpful when trying to achieve something.
Let me bring in the book that we just launched a few months ago called Creative Cash. To me, this is all about setting goals and creating a plan. To write the book, Bill Ham did an amazing job writing it. But then obviously there's so much work in the background. You need to edit the book. You need to come up with the book cover. Amazing. You need to come up with the graphics, the ISBN number. You need to put it on Amazon. You need to edit it. I mean, there's so much work involved. If you don't organize your goals into a plan by priority, what needs to get done and what's the sequence that needs to get done. That's why coaching to me is amazing. I had already written a couple of books, but we went with a company called Scribe that helped us launch this book. It gave us tasks. And then it's not only just writing the book and putting the book, then you have to do the after effects. you're not a best writing author, you're a best selling author. So how do you do that? Well, that's another part with marketing. So it's important that you organize your goals into a plan by prioritizing things, getting them launched, and then working on them, and then using a sequence. Which one can I do help first? And it's really important that you do it. And it's a long project. That's why this is a priority. To launch a book is something that is not done in less than 8 hours. It's really a quarterly or maybe a 6-month task that you need to take on. So if you have 3 or 4 of these big priorities, you may be overwhelmed. But as you get older and you get more experience, you're able to do more things, and you're able to have more people on your team that will allow you to help you out. So that's why it's important. Number 5, organize the goals into a plan by priority and sequence.
Nice. Yeah. Number 6, take action immediately. Again, sometimes we make a decision and we say, we'll do it tomorrow. And then it doesn't happen because we're excited in that moment. And then I don't know if it's just me or we have this great plan, we have this great idea, we get so overwhelmed, we completely shut down. We're like, yeah, I don't think so. That's so overwhelming. I can't even think past that. Don't do that. And I've learned to stop doing that by actually creating these goals and creating steps to how am I going to do it? Because otherwise it's so overwhelming. And I just advise everyone, just take action, do something, do one thing, and then later do another thing. And what happens is you just keep doing one thing over and over again. And there are times, when sometimes we fail ourselves, we're like, oh my gosh, today it didn't work out. So just start over right then and there. Don't wait till tomorrow. Start right then and there.
Take action immediately. Education times action equals your results. You can educate yourself. You can get yourself prepared. The paralysis analysis. You need to be taking action immediately. What does that look like? For us, picking up the phone, calling the broker, underwriting deals, going to events. Those are actions going to lead to achieving your goals. And number 7, this is, I think, one of the most important to me. Use every day to do something towards achieving your goal. I'm not going to talk about the dinner party because that's my wife's thing. All right. I'm going to stick with the business, with the real estate. What is it going to take every day to get your first deal? Is it doing a YouTube video or a training for 15 minutes? Is it underwriting the deal? Is it talking to an investor? Is it working on your credibility book? Is it working on your website? When I was at the restaurant, it was very hard for me. I worked all day, but I always found every day a little bit of time to do something. I would sit down at lunchtime, or I'd do it before I went to work, or I'd do it when I came home late at night. I always found that I needed to do a little something to stay motivated, to stay engaged. It's called momentum. And once you build that momentum, it's going to continue to take you on and on and on. So it may be 10 minutes a day, it may be 2 hours a day, but you need to be in the learning zone and the performance zone. Remember those two? That learning zone, you need to be in it every day as you're trying to achieve those goals.
I'm glad that you talked first, because I had this funny thought, is that depending on who comes over, I absolutely adore my husband's family. Like I really do. I love when they come over, but it's one of those things where his aunts, who are so unbelievable, come over. For some reason, they always check in a cabinet or a closet or the refrigerator where it's messy. So I learned my lesson about 15 years ago. Organize the house before everyone comes.
Or put locks on everything so they can't get in, right? You should have done that.
And it's so funny because my kids think it's hysterical that they're like, Mom, I bet you they're going to check the refrigerator. And the last time we had bought a new refrigerator, Gino's aunt came over like, oh my gosh, I love this fridge. Opened it up, checked it all out. And my Sophia, she's like, phew, good thing we cleaned it out. I thought, okay. So what we do, and my husband gave, his list of what to do, is ahead of a party, like if it's a Christmas Eve, something, I'm really talking about a big gathering. We have days of organizing. We have days of cleaning, and I'm very, very orderly. Today, we're going to do this. Today, we're going to do this, all that. We have shopping. You have grocery lists. You have how long things take to cook. You have what we can make the night before. There are lists that we could make and things we could do to make the day enjoyable. Because what's the worst thing to do is at a dinner party is being so busy in the kitchen that you do not get a minute to enjoy with guests. So my advice always is do everything ahead of time, chop everything, whatever you can get ahead, do it, because the whole purpose of a gathering is to visit, spend time with the family. And I think that's the most important. But one of the good things is if you do apply these steps for something like what I'm talking about, is that you can't wait for the next one. And you want it to be enjoyable. Yes, it's a lot of work. Yes, there's a lot of cleanup afterwards, but you want to be to the moment where the kids, your husband, everyone that comes over says, I cannot wait until another one, another gathering. And that's what the real goal is.
I'm going to end this by sharing a story. I got a text picture about maybe a little over a year ago, and it was for my wife, and she was cleaning out some papers, and it was my goals from 2017. And it had my passive income from various endeavors, whether it was coaching, real estate, restaurant. And I looked at that number and I'm like, comparing it to now, I'm like, this stuff really works. I blew by those numbers. I had those numbers there. And in 2017, I hit them, but I'm looking at it now and I'm revising now. And I'm like, wow, I was top of mind. It always stayed on my mind. That's what I focused on. I focused on trying to grow that, trying to grow the different streams of revenue. I had other ways of making money, whether it was writing another book or starting the podcast or buying another property, whatever that was. I saw that number and it made me feel really good because I'm like, this stuff works. Writing down your goals works. Anyone who's successful in life writes down their goals, writes down what they want to accomplish, looks at them and is not afraid to say, I haven't achieved them. What do I need to change? Because we're constantly changing. Sometimes we look at goals and we change our values. All of a sudden, something that we valued years ago, we've outgrown that. It's not important to us anymore. So don't be afraid to pivot and change your goals because your values are not the same.
You know why I found that paper?
Why'd you find that paper?
Because we were having a party. I was
really?
Organizing, of course.
I looked at it and I was like, wow.
That's important. I that's why I always tell people to write things down, maybe in a journal or something, or even, you can even have a yearly journal or something to put away and to look back, because a lot of times we don't realize how far we've come in life until we look back 5 years ago and realize, holy cow, I am so different than what I used to be. And so I always encourage people just write their thoughts down, write what their goals are, and look back in life and see, wow, yes, I am doing something different.
I challenge everyone out there. Julia's email is juliabarbaro@gmail.com. Email her the one thing you are working on, because if you email her that, all of a sudden it's out there. She knows it. She's going to hold you accountable to it. And trust me, she can be really annoying on that stuff. I mean, but it's good because you need somebody to push you. But I think that's really important. Anything to wrap it up,
No,
Jill?
I like that. I do. Send me that email. Send it to someone else. Again, depending on who. Pay attention to who you are asking for accountability, because that's super important. But just start doing it. You have to start doing it. You have to start somewhere, whether it's as small as a dinner party or as large as a property. Start writing down your goals. Start writing down, deciding what the goals are, writing them down, setting deadlines, list all those activities needed to achieve it, organize them in priority, take action, and every day do something.
Wow. Julie and I want to thank you for becoming part of the Jake and Gino community, for spending part of your day with us. And we want to thank you just for listening to us and on a topic, to me, that's more passionate to my wife. She jokes around. She's goal oriented in a different kind of way. And it's enjoyable to talk about it because it's something that, for me, I think without having weekly goals, without having quarterly priorities, without having yearly, and looking out 3 and 5 years, I don't think I would have achieved the success that I've achieved and the happiness that I would have achieved, because I would not be focusing on what I need to work on. And I think that's what we all need to do, is to focus on what we want to work on and where we want to grow in life, whether it's, like I said, it's our family, it's our health, it's our financial situation. Start writing down your goals and start taking control of your life. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.